Hello, everyone. It is Ms. Sharos. I am so excited to get started with you all today, and welcome to my ELA classroom. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So our activity that this lesson aligns with is Activity 6 for April 24th and 27th in your packet. All right, so if you want to turn to that in your packet to follow along, that might be pretty helpful. This whole video will help you with that part of your packet. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. What are we learning today? All right. By the end of this video, you all will be able to ask and answer questions to demonstrate your understanding of the text. All right. And the text that we are talking about today is Zell, the Gentle Donkey. All right. And that is in your packet. All right. And you're going to be referring to that text for answers throughout this video and for questions in your packet as well. Alrighty. So let's get started. So before we go on, read Zelda the Gentle Donkey on page 22 of your packet at least once before continuing on. It'll be extremely helpful for you to have read that as you follow along with this video. It'll make a lot more sense as we continue on. All right. So go ahead and pause the video and read that if you need to before we continue on. Alrighty, we are going to be learning the 5-finger retell strategy today. The 5-finger retell strategy is going to help you remember different parts of the story that you just read, Zelda the Gentle Donkey. All right, so our 5 fingers. And these are all story elements that we have learned before. So our thumb is characters. Who, or what, whether those are animals or creatures, people, who is in the story. All right, our pointer finger, the setting. When and where does our story take place? Our middle finger, the problem. What goes wrong in the story? What happens to our main character? Okay, what problem are we trying to solve? Our ring finger, the events in the story. What happens in the beginning, middle, and the end? My students know that as I call it the plot. What is the plot of the story, right? What happens as we have read the story? Okay, what happens first, next, last? And our last one, our solution. How is the problem fixed or resolved? So how is the problem that was going on with our main character? How is that fixed by the time we get to the end of our story? All right. All of these story elements we are going to be talking about with Zelda the Gentle Donkey. All right. And as we go through these, it is going to help us answer our questions at the end of the video. All right. Our first one, characters, the first finger. Who are the characters in our story? Who are the characters in Zelda the Gentle Donkey? Well, first off, we have Zell. All right, she is our main character, and she, as the story tells, she is a donkey. Next one is Madam Charity. That is Zell's owner in the story. Okay, and we have them paired up together at the very beginning of the story. Zell's friend Tulululu, who is a crab. That is a third character that we meet in our story who also talks throughout the story as well. All right, but how do we know this? How do we know that these are characters in the story? Did I just see the beginning title? Did I guess for all of them? How did I know those were the story? Well, if we go back to our text, we see in the first paragraph, it says that long ago there was a gentle donkey named Zell. All right, and then in that third sentence, we meet Madam Charity, Zell's owner. Madam Charity was angry and mean. So going back to the text, we found both of our first 2 characters. And then towards the middle of the story, we meet Zell's friend Tulululu, okay, which says is the crab right there. All right. There are a few other characters that we do meet in the story, but we never get names for them. This is towards the end of the story. Madam Charity talks to some people at the market, and she says she meets some people. There's a fish seller and there's a fruit seller. Those are individuals and people who are in the story, but we never get their names. So we know that they're not super important. All right, our second finger is the setting. All right, our setting is when and where does this story take place? All right, well, we know that this story takes place in Haiti. All right, that is the location of our story. And we know that Madam Charity sells rice and sugar at the market on Saturday. So where does she sell it? She sells it at the market. And when? On Saturdays. But how did I know this? How did I find out where our setting was? Well, right below the title of the story, Zelda the Gentle Donkey, it says that it is a folktale from Haiti. Haiti is an island nation in the Caribbean, and is just south of the United States. So we know that this story takes place in the country of Haiti. Next, in the second paragraph of the story, it tells us that every Saturday, Madame Charity sold rice, sugar, and rice at the market. So when? On Saturdays. Where? At the market. There is our setting. The third is our problem. Okay, what is our problem of the story? What happens to our main characters? So it says, what is the problem? What goes wrong for our main characters? Well, we know that Madame Charity wakes up late, but she blames Zell instead of really probably thinking of herself. Zell tries to tell Madame Charity, tries to take Madame Charity to the market as fast as she could, but it's not enough, right? We see the problem towards the beginning slash middle of our story. We see the problem. It says that Madame Charity always woke up late and she got angry and yelled at Zell, who had done nothing wrong, right? It says that she would tell Zell to hurry up, get to the market as fast as you can, and Zell tried, but it was never enough for Madame Charity. So Madame Charity was always yelling and getting angry at Zell. That is what our problem is. That is what goes wrong for our main character. Zell always is getting yelled at. So our plot, our events in the story, all right? So what happens in the beginning, middle, and end, which is we've already kind of talked about that a little bit, all right? When we've talked about our setting, our characters, and our problem, a lot of that is the events of the story, all right? So what happened in the beginning, middle, and end? Well, we know that Madame Charity is mean to Zell when she wakes up in the mornings. That's part of our problem. We later find out that Zell talks to her friend Tulululu about Madame Charity. Tulululu says that he will help Zell. Then the next day, Tululu bites Madame Charity's ankle each time she is mean. And then towards the end, strangers see that Madame Charity is in pain and offer to help her. Then Madame Charity sold all of her rice and sugar and then rode home with Zell. So where do we find this out in our story? How do we know that this is the beginning, middle, and end? Well, first off, we know that the beginning is going to happen towards the first part of the story. Then we have our chunk in the middle, and then our chunk at the end. So let's try that out. So first, we need to read the text. That is the first thing in finding the events of the story. We're not going to know what happens unless we read. All right? Understanding order of events. So first, next, then, last, making sure that we are going in order when we're listing the events of our story. And then lastly, when discussing the events in our story, try summarizing. That is what Miss Sharos did with these couple of sentences. I didn't write our whole long story. I wrote just about 4 sentences to tell you the plot, the beginning, middle, and the end. Our solution. How was the problem solved or fixed? If we remember, our problem is that Zell gets yelled at by Madame Charity every single time that she wakes up late. She blames it on Zell and not really on herself. So our solution is fixed by Madame Charity learns to not raise her voice when angry, thanks to the kindness of the person at the market. And Zell finally becomes happy. So how do we know this? Let me go back. How do we know this? It says, from that day on, Madame Charity tried not to raise her voice in anger. Sometimes she got angry, but she kept it to herself. And Zell, the gentle donkey, was happy at last. We know that this is the solution to our story because Zell was upset that he was getting yelled at all the time. So by the end, Madame Charity learns not to raise her voice in anger, and Zell becomes happy. So what once was a problem now has a solution at the end of our story. Alrighty, so what questions can we answer from what we just learned about the events of our story and about the problems and the characters and the settings? What can we answer now in our packet? So if we go to question 3 in our packet, it has 2 parts. So there's a part A and a part B for this. All right, so, oopsie. Sorry, there we go. So what questions can we answer? For part A, it says, what is the central message of this story? All right, so we have a couple of answer choices. It is either A, honesty is the best policy. All right, B, kindness gets better results than anger. C, things are not always as they appear. or D, beware of strangers. Alrighty, so to get started, first I want to let you guys know that central message is another word for theme. We have learned theme in our class, which is kind of like the lesson the lesson that a character learns at the end of the story. They call it in the packet central message. So central message is another word for theme. So always to answer questions like this, either in your packet or in any other work, always go back to the text. Go back to the text, right? And then use what we've just learned. Use your 5-finger strategy, okay? Is this about characters? Is this about setting, the problem, the plot, the solution? What's going to help me answer this? And then we're going to use process of elimination, right? So things are not always as they appear. That one doesn't really get talked about in our story really that much. So I'm going to cross that one off. All right. Kindness gets better results than anger. There is about kind. Honesty. I don't know if they talk about honesty. Beware of strangers. There are some strangers in the story, right? But if I think back to what our problem was that Zell was not being treated very kindly, and that Madame Charity was always yelling, and it says that she was an angry person. So I think that our best answer for this one is going to be, B. It is going to be B. That is our best choice. It's going to be that. So B is our correct answer. Circle that again. There we go. All right. So for part B down here, it says which sentence from the story is the most important to the central message of the story. So if I say the most important, that one's that most makes sense, right? Let's see these. Madam Charity, you should get up earlier. That's A. B is, then she got angry and yelled at Zell. C, from that day on, Madam Charity tried not to raise her voice in anger. Or D, today he felt sorry for her. Okay, well, I know that the central message is about kindness and about how Madam Charity was not in anger anymore. So she was not angry. So I don't think that it's B, because that's about being angry. And I don't think it's about anyone feeling sorry for anyone. That one doesn't make sense to the central message or the theme. So I think that the correct answer is most important to the central message is going to be C. From that day on, Madame Charity tried not to raise her voice in anger. I think that is the correct one for that one. So if we go back to what questions we can answer, there we go. We have our questions back up again. Alrighty, so if you have any questions at any point about the video or what we just learned, contact Ms. Charles or your other third grade teacher for more assistance. We'd be so happy to help you to FaceTime or Zoom. You're now able to answer 2 questions in your packet for Zelda Gentle Donkey. I hope that you are enjoying your time working on your packets. Good luck. We love you so much, and bye-bye.